created, and that injustice endures. End of quote. Through your collective advocacy, this historical injustice is now widely acknowledged. The United Nations welcomes the growing consensus towards reforming global institutions such as the United Nations Security Council and the Bretton Woods institutions. The Secretary General has been and continues to be particularly vocal in this regard. Excellencies, people everywhere are hoping for a future of peace, dignity, and prosperity, which serves as a basis of common cause between Africa and the Caribbean. As the Secretary General noted, correcting age-old injustices is essential to addressing here and now challenges. And the good news is that we have many of the solutions we need, many of which feature in the Pact for the Future, adopted in September last year by the General Assembly. It will be a future that prioritizes dialogue and negotiation, ending the wars that are tearing our world apart, including by leveraging for the whole of humanity the immense potential presented by modern technologies such as artificial intelligence. It should also be a future ushering in a new era of relations between nations based on sovereignty, collective peace, in larger freedom. Excellencies, allow me, on behalf of the Secretary General Antonio Guterres, to wish you productive deliberations. And I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you, Excellency. Your leadership and role reinforcing the Africa-Caribbean dialogue and cooperation are deeply appreciated. It is now my distinct honor to invite His Excellency, Dr. Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Your Excellency, John Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola and the current Chairperson of African Union, Your Excellency, Terrance, Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, and incoming Chair of CARICOM, esteemed Heads of States and Government, Your Excellency, Mr. Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency, Dr. Carla, Secretary General of the Caribbean Community, my dear brothers and sisters from the Caribbean community, welcome home. It is with profound honor and deep pride that I welcome you to Ethiopia, a land where history lives and the future takes root. We gather in Addis Ababa, where the call for Adwa was answered and African unity found its first home. From here, the world is reminded of a truth too often forgotten. The spirit of our nations always rises. On this ground, where history was made, victory was won not by force, but by courage, not by empire, but by unity. That triumph did not belong to Ethiopia alone. It became a symbol of resistance, pride, and shared aspiration across continents and generations. Today, we're here to build upon that legacy. We often speak of reconnection, but what we are doing goes further. We are building a relationship deliberate, purposeful, and lasting. Excellencies, the world is changing. Voices once ignored are now demanding to be heard. In this new era, we cannot speak in fragments. We must speak as one. That's why the AU-CARICOM partnership matters. It is rooted in opportunity, guided by frameworks that reflect today's reality. In a world where global challenges demand regional unity, and where regions like ours cannot act alone, there is clear alignment between us. On climate justice, our voices carry weight. In global governance, our demands are just. For inclusive growth, powered by innovation and use, our ambition converge. Across these issues, each region brings strengths. Africa brings scale, natural wealth, and boundless potential. The Caribbean brings strategic diplomacy, strong institutions, and resilient communities. Together, those strengths are multiplied. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, Ethiopia's past shows what is possible when unity meets deliberate action. We call this Madamar, synergy, the strength that comes when heads, hands, and hearts work as one. It is more than cooperation. It is a shared effort, a unity of purpose that turns idea into action and action into lasting change. This energy drives national progress through connection, culture, innovation, knowledge, and unity. Connection links us. Ethiopian Airlines, Africa's largest carrier, links our continent to many corners of the world, bringing people, economies, and ideas together. Culture defines us. Our UNESCO-recognized festivals celebrate heritage, pride, identity, and creativity. Innovation drives us. Through the Green Legacy Initiative, we planted over 48 billion seedlings in 7 years, restoring ecosystems and creating initiative transformed imports into digital Ethiopia is opening new pathways for trade and finance, the research and capacity for the future. Unity empowers us. When Ethiopia speaks with one voice on climate, on debt, or trade, we deliver. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam is proof of our strengths when we unite. Born in the heart of millions, funded by our own people, built through their labor and sacrifice, is a testament to shared vision, bold determination, and collective effort, a historic achievement for Ethiopia and for Africa. Excellencies, these forces, guided by Madamar, are the foundation for what we can build with the Caribbean. Geography may have placed us apart, but history has bound us together. Let us free ourselves from the language of charity, of recovery, of being called developing. Let us instead rise into something new and ours, where the waters that once divide us now unite us in dignity and prosperity. My dear brothers and sisters,
and distinguished delegates. It is my pleasure to invite His Excellency Terrance, the Prime Minister of St. Kitts and Nevis, incoming Chair of CARICOM, to deliver his remarks. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Good morning to all. Let me first of all recognize Your Excellency Abiy Ahmed Ali, Prime Minister of this great country, Your Excellency João Manuel Gonçalves Lourenço, President of Angola and Chairperson of the African Union. Let me also recognize Your Excellency Parfait Onanga Ayanga, Special Representative of the United Nations Secretary General. Allow me also to recognize Your Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission. And allow me to recognize also Her Excellency Dr. Carla Barnett, Secretary General of CARICOM. Other heads of delegation, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. But allow me to also recognize, speaking on behalf of the Caribbean community, the Rastafari community of the Caribbean, who for many years has asked us to meet with our African brothers and sisters and forge a relationship that would ensure prosperity for our people. Today, as I stand here and came here by air, as I landed in this most beautiful country, it dawned on me that our history in the Caribbean did not start 400 years ago with the slave trade, but indeed we are connected to the cradle of civilization, the cradle of humanity, Africa, Ethiopia. It is indeed an absolute delight to greet you on behalf of the Conference of Heads of Government of the Caribbean Community at this second CARICOM Africa Summit being held in the Nelson Mandela Hall here at the headquarters of the African Union. Ethiopia, the land of origins, reflects the family ties and bonds shared between the people of the Caribbean community and the continent of Africa. Were forged from an exploitative and oppressive system that made a mockery of human rights. The Caribbean is proud of the strides made in strengthening these connections through Pan-African advocacy. The fight against the people of Africa and the Caribbean, supported by the respective decisions of the African Union and Caribbean community. Today's first in-person meeting, since we met virtually for the first time in 2021, is timely in reinforcing the bonds between Africa and the Caribbean, as well as in examining ways in which to deepen our partnership at the global and strategic levels. This will allow us to deepen South-South cooperation while fostering shared prosperity and affirming a common voice on global platforms, including on global peace, security, reform, and multilateral issues such as climate change. As we meet under the theme of transcontinental partnership in pursuit of reparatory justice for Africans and people of African descent, we are reminded of the important outcome from the first Africa-CARICOM summit hosted by His Excellency Uhuru Kenyatta, President of the Republic of Kenya, on 7th September 2021. The Caribbean community expresses sincere thanks and its deep appreciation to His Excellency Abiy Ahmed, Prime Minister of this great country, not only for the excellent arrangements and hospitality to us here in Addis, but also for the commitment made with the Honorable Mia Ahmad Motley, Prime Minister of Barbados, to hold this second summit. This engagement will allow for broader discussion on the 2024 AU-CARICOM Memorandum of Understanding and upscale engagement and linkages with people of African descent, particularly the strengthening of interregional economic partnerships and enhanced people-to-people ties. Convey thanks to His Excellency João Lourenço, President of Angola, person of the African Union, for the support given to this engagement. Excellencies, our discussions today should allow us to come to a common understanding and collaboration on a wide range of issues pertinent to our shared digital transformation and artificial intelligence, trade and investment, maritime and air transport, tourism, and cultural exchanges. What is clear is that closer collaboration between Africa and CARICOM is impatient. It's impatient of urgent attention and action in order to achieve positive outcomes for both our regions. Actions must be the underpinning sentiment of all that we do. Current global events demonstrate clearly that it is in the best interests of both Africa and the Caribbean to work together as developing regions. And I heard the word of my brother, President Ahmed, that we need to drop the term developing regions and convert that into something that represents what we are seeking to achieve. Commendations are due to Africa-CARICOM, particularly under Professor Benedict Oramah's leadership, as well as to numerous political and other leaders across Africa, who through concrete initiatives are encouraging trade, investment, cultural and sporting exchanges, and other collaborations between CARICOM and Africa. And I dare say that it has begun. To further propel our efforts, we need increased transportation linkages to reinforce our bonds, as our people should be able to travel freely and unabated to Africa and CARICOM. We need increased trade and investment, building on the experience, potential, and amplification of the culture, historical, and economic linkages between our regions. What was once a devastating tragedy for our people and for humanity, the transatlantic slave trade, should now be converted into the Atlantic Bridge, a bridge of hope, a bridge of advancement, a bridge that will ensure that our people take their rightful place in this world. Therefore, I call for more cooperation, more working together, and more advancement. Excellencies, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters of this great continent, we are happy to be home again. We have the opportunity to rewrite historical outcomes and to be champions of our own destiny. CARICOM remains, therefore, committed to the CARICOM AU partnership on this 5th anniversary of Africa-CARICOM Day, as we celebrate the enduring kingship and deepening partnership between our people, between the Caribbean community and Africa. Let us celebrate, but let this celebration be a demonstration of what we seek to achieve with this new, strong relationship that we are forging forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Your Excellency. I now have the honor to invite His Excellency João Lourenço, President of the Republic of Angola and Chairperson of the African Union, to deliver his statement. Your Excellency, the floor is yours.
Sua Excelência Abiy Ahmed Ali, Federal da Etiópia e anfitrião desta conferência.
And the host of this meeting, Excellencies, heads of governments and states of African countries, as well as CARICOM countries, Your Excellency and the holders, Prime Minister of Jamaica, and Chairman of the Caribbean Community, representatives of our heads of states and governments, Your Excellencies, Antonio Guterres. We're here represented by Mr. Parfait Onyanga, Your Excellency Mahmoud Ali Yusuf, Chairperson of the African Union Commission, Your Excellency Carla Barnett, Secretary General of members of diplomatic corps accredited in Addis Ababa, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, it's with great honor and deep sentiment that I wish to make this speech as the chairperson of the African Union and to make several observations in this during this second physical meeting of representatives of members of our African Union and the members from our Caribbean community. Allow me to greet you warmly on behalf of the Federal Republic of to recognize the Federal Republic of Ethiopia, to thank them for this warm welcome and allowing us to carry out this work at the headquarters in this wonderful city of Addis Ababa. We're meeting today not just because of historical reasons, the determination that we do have to transform and to work on the wounds of the past and to build bridges of cooperation and to also seek justice. On the 7th of September of 2021, because of COVID-19, we held a first meeting virtually between Africa and during which our discussions, based on our discussions, we talked about the importance of, and 4 years later, we are once again together. We are going to seek to make this meeting an important moment for us to be able to deal with global issues and to deal with global issues that affect people of Africa and African descent, so that we can be able to affirm our dignity as we work together to make efforts in order for us to have political cooperation, economic cooperation, social and cultural cooperation, because of our common history and the blood connection that we do have that unite us. During the second meeting, which has the theme, Transcontinental Partnership in Pursuit of Reparatory Justice for Africans and People of African Descent through Reparations, we acknowledge the fact that based on the theme of this summit, it has a very strong symbolism because of the African Union itself is also has consecrated 2025 as the year of justice for our people of Africa and African descent, the year of justice through reparations. And so we do have a common front in the transcontinental partnership that we do have between the African Union and CARICOM, because as we fight together for reparative justice on a global level, we need to find a way to evolve in the decisions to achieve our objectives. And with this goal, we consider it to be fundamental for us to be able to think about ways in which we can create common grounds in the use of available tools so that we can be able to achieve reparations and use Afro-Caribbean mechanisms so that we can be able to get reparative justice on a global level. These tools will become facilitating instruments so that we'll be able to have collaboration between African Union and CARICOM organs so that we can be able to define strategies, aligning effective actions collectively so that we can be able to achieve reparations on a political, be able to achieve reparations on a political as well as a legal, level. Excellencies, it's an opportunity for us to be able to reflect on the facts, historical facts that unite us, and the need for us to think about our common action, so that we can be able to have action that will reinvigorate our efforts, and so that we can be able to deal with the suffering of the past caused by colonialism. For that reason, we will have to look for a common path which will lead us to progress and development, and as well as cultural organizations, in to establish mechanisms which is that we're going to have. The youth should have a central part, and for that reason, I consider it to be pertinent that we find a way to institutionalize a youth council for African Union as a CARICOM as a permanent consultative organ, so that we can be able to make sure that the future generations participate in the construction of our common future. Excellencies, we're living at a time which is marked by a lot of changes on a global level. We do have a climate crisis, food insecurity, energy insecurity, all city forced migrations, as well as external economic pressures. These are challenges which are really affecting in an intensive manner countries of the global south, particularly countries in Africa. Means and resources for us to be able to deal with these phenomena. The fact that for that reason, we have to think about the current fragilization of multilateral institutions, which is quite worrying. For that reason, we need to be able to have stronger cooperation, so that we can be able to defend ourselves, and also have comprehensive multilateralism, so that we can be able to raise our people and our nations, and to avoid, so can we deal with the marginalization that Africa and the Caribbean regions have always been exposed to. For that reason, we need to work in a very coordinated manner. We have to converge our efforts, and we will definitely need to have a reform of the United Nations, particularly the Security Council, and it needs to reflect the reality of today's world, and we also need to be lateralism, which is able to respond to the contemporary challenges when it comes to peace and security, climate, as well as sustainable development, guaranteeing strengthening international institutions, so that they can be able to have a representation which is representative of the aspirations of the people, namely the people who are excluded in Africa, Latin America, and the Caribbean, Asia, and the Middle East. I'm sure that this summit will represent a determining point which, going forward, Africa and the Caribbean is going to be able to achieve a lot, because the words of hope which are going to be made during this summit, they're going to be a base that will help us to achieve our destiny for the people of Africa and CARICOM. That way we will be able to achieve prosperity, well-being, and progress. So I take advantage of use this opportunity to recognize the people of Palestine, to recognize the tough moment that they're going through. They are dealing with a real genocide. The world is not indifferent to your suffering. We are in solidarity with your cause, the cause for the fight for the creation of the state of Palestine, so that the two people people of Israel and Palestine need to live in peace and harmony, developing friendly and ties and having economic cooperation. With these words, I declare open the second summit of the African and CARICOM region. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Excellency, for your insightful statement. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed to the family photo. I kindly request that heads of state, heads of delegations, and those invited to the high podium to follow the protocol team to the designated location for smooth organization. I kindly ask that all other delegates remain seated until the photo session is completed. After the family photo, the sessions will resume here in this hall under the guidance of the chairperson of the African Union. I thank you for your attention and wish you fruitful deliberation. Thank you.